Most people believe that intelligence is a fixed trait. They think you are either born with it or not. They observe individuals who reason sharply. These individuals make calm decisions under pressure. They also change their opinions without ego. People often say that such a person is naturally smart. However, science tells us something different. This understanding changes everything. Intelligence is not a fixed gift handed to you at birth. It is, in very large part, the product of what you do with your mind every single day. The habits you build shape your mind. Your mental behaviors also contribute. The way you engage with difficulty, emotions, and uncertainty also matters. These factors determine how powerfully your mind functions. Researchers across psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science have spent decades studying this. The findings are impossible to ignore. Today, we will discuss 5 cognitive habits. High intelligence quotient thinkers practice these consistently. These habits sharpen reasoning and improve judgment. They also build intellectual flexibility. Most people never develop this flexibility. This is not because they cannot, but because they are not taught how. The first habit, and arguably the most important one, is something psychologists call metacognition. This is the practice of thinking about your own thinking. It sounds deceptively simple, but the research behind it is extraordinary. Studies published in leading cognitive psychology journals have established a clear, measurable relationship between metacognitive skill and intellectual performance. People regularly examine their own thought processes. They pause to ask why they hold a belief. They question the evidence supporting it. They also consider if they might be wrong. These individuals consistently outperform others. This occurs even when raw intelligence scores are similar. This connection is very strong. Some researchers even call metacognition the highest form of intelligence. Think about what that means. It is not memorization. It is not calculation speed. It is not the ability to recall facts. It is the ability to watch your own mind, catch its errors, and course correct in real time. Neuroscientists confirm this as well. When you reflect on your own reasoning, you activate the prefrontal cortex. This region is responsible for critical thinking and evaluation. The prefrontal cortex literally overrides faster, more automatic, and biased systems of the brain. High intelligence quotient thinkers do this habitually. They do not just accept their own conclusions. They interrogate them. They treat their beliefs as hypotheses to be tested, not as truths to be defended. This leads directly into confirmation bias. It is one of the most dangerous enemies of good thinking. Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman conducted research. This research showed that the human brain seeks information. It confirms what it already believes. We do this automatically, unconsciously, constantly. This bias often combines with overconfidence. Studies show these two are deeply linked. The result is a mind trapped in its own echo chamber. It collects evidence for what it wants to be true. It ignores everything that challenges this. The antidote is exactly the metacognitive practice we just described. Build a habit of asking questions. Ask, what would prove you wrong? Inquire about what you are not seeing. Consider what evidence you are dismissing, because it is unconscious. Then you begin to think at a level most people never reach. That difference in thinking quality shows up in every area of life. It impacts your decisions, relationships, and career. It also affects your ability to navigate the world. The world is far more complex and uncertain than any simple belief system can account for. The second habit is what psychologist Robert Bjork of the University of California, Los Angeles, famously called desirable difficulty. His research revealed something that feels counterintuitive at first. However, it makes profound sense when you understand it. The brain does not grow from ease. It grows from struggle. Engage with ideas that challenge you. Sit with confusion without immediately seeking an answer. Push through the discomfort of not understanding something right away. Your brain then forms stronger, deeper neural connections. Bjork's work showed something important. Learning that feels difficult in the short term produces better retention. It also improves problem-solving ability in the long term. This means high intelligence quotient thinkers do not find everything easy. They are people who have become comfortable with mental discomfort. They do not run from complexity. They run toward it. They read difficult books. They engage with ideas that challenge their existing frameworks. They are willing to feel temporarily lost. They know that feeling lost inside a hard problem is where growth happens. People who only consume easy content are not resting their minds. They always take the path of least cognitive resistance. They are slowly weakening them. The muscle of the intellect, just like any other muscle in the body, only strengthens under load. The people who understand this practice that load deliberately every single day. The third habit may surprise you most. It has nothing to do with what most people think of as intelligence. It is emotional regulation. Research consistently shows the ability to manage emotional reactions. Delay in these reactions is a strong predictor of quality decisions. It also predicts strong cognitive performance. Walter Mischel's landmark work is widely known. This includes the famous marshmallow studies conducted at Stanford. Mischel demonstrated that children who could exercise self-control showed better outcomes. They could pause, wait, and manage impulse. These outcomes were seen in reasoning, academic performance, and life navigation decades later. What happens in the brain when you pause before reacting is remarkable. Neuroscientists have shown that even a brief delay shifts neural activity. Sometimes this delay is as short as 30 seconds. This shift moves activity away from the amygdala. The amygdala is the brain's reactive emotional center. Activity moves toward the prefrontal cortex. Logic, analysis, and long-term thinking reside there. In simple terms, when you pause, you stop your emotions from hijacking your judgment. You give your intelligence a chance to actually function. High intelligence quotient thinkers are not people without emotions. They feel everything you feel. However, they have trained themselves. They do not let feelings speak before their rational mind weighs in. That gap, the deliberate pause between stimulus and response, is where wisdom lives. Every time you practice it, you are literally rewiring your brain to think more clearly. The fourth habit is cognitive flexibility. This involves the willingness to change your mind when evidence demands it. This is where psychology becomes very interesting. Research has found that this trait distinguishes high-functioning intellect, yet it is one of the rarest behaviors in human interaction. Most people treat their beliefs as extensions of their identity. To be proven wrong feels like a personal attack. To change their opinion feels like weakness or defeat. Organizational psychologist Adam Grant has conducted extensive research on the subject. He argues the exact opposite. His work demonstrates a common trait among the greatest thinkers. These include scientists, strategists, leaders, and innovators. They hold strong opinions loosely. They are fully committed to their current best understanding. However, they are equally committed to updating it. They do so the moment better evidence arrives. Kahneman himself described his genuine delight. This occurs when he discovers he was wrong. It means he now understands something more accurately than before. That is the orientation of a truly intelligent mind. It is not a need to be right. Instead, it is a need to understand correctly. A study from the University of Cambridge found something important. Cognitive flexibility is measured through behavioral tests. This flexibility directly predicts intellectual humility and open-minded thinking. People who can shift their mental frameworks reason better. They can look at the same situation from multiple angles. Their ego does not demand one fixed interpretation. They make better predictions. They solve harder problems. They are significantly less likely to be manipulated, deceived, or trapped by their own blind spots. Changing your mind, when the evidence is clear, is not a sign of weakness. It is the single most powerful demonstration of a mature and functioning intellect. The fifth and final habit is thinking in probabilities rather than absolutes. This is where the research becomes almost startling in its implications. Psychologist Philip Tetlock spent more than 2 decades studying forecasting and prediction. He studied thousands of individuals, from everyday people to recognized experts. What he found was that most people think in binary terms. Something is either true or false. A plan will either work or it will not. Someone is either trustworthy or they are not. This black and white thinking feels psychologically comfortable because certainty is comfortable, but it is catastrophically bad for judgment. The world does not operate in absolutes. Almost everything exists on a spectrum of likelihood. Tetlock identified the best forecasters. He called these individuals They were not smarter in the traditional intelligence quotient sense. What made them exceptional was their ability to think in precise probabilities. Instead of saying this will happen, they would estimate a likelihood. They might say there is roughly a 70% chance this happens. This estimate is based on available information. They are also willing to update that number as they learn more. Instead of I am right, their approach became I am likely right. However, they hold their position with calibrated uncertainty. This habit does something profound to your reasoning. It forces you to actually evaluate evidence, rather than just confirming a gut feeling. It builds intellectual humility, because you are constantly acknowledging you might be wrong. It dramatically improves the quality of your decisions. You are working with reality as it actually is. Reality is uncertain, complex, and this is different from the simplified, overconfident version your brain prefers. When you begin asking about likelihood, you start thinking like a scientist. Ask how likely is this? Inquire what is the probability I am mistaken? Ask what would shift those odds. This is different from being a defender of a position. That shift alone can change the quality of every decision you make. These 5 habits are not personality traits. One is born with or without. These habits include metacognition and embracing mental challenge. They also involve regulating emotional responses, updating beliefs with new evidence, and thinking in probabilities. They are trainable, practicable, and repeatable behaviors. The research from psychology, neuroscience, and behavioral science makes this unambiguous. The way you think is not fixed. It is built. Every time you pause before reacting, you strengthen the circuitry of emotional regulation. Every time you engage with a difficult idea, instead of avoiding it, you build cognitive endurance. Every time you question your own assumptions, you weaken the grip of bias. Every time you change your mind because the evidence demands it, you reinforce the habit of intellectual honesty. Furthermore, every time you replace absolute certainty with a consideration of probability, you bring your reasoning closer to reality. Intelligence is not a ceiling. It is a practice. A powerful understanding for today is this: the quality of your mind tomorrow depends almost entirely on the choices you make with it right now. Start with one habit. Build it slowly. Be patient with the process. Every small act of genuine thinking makes you sharper. This includes every moment of honest self-examination and every choice to sit with difficulty instead of running from it. These acts are quietly, steadily, and irreversibly making you sharper. That is not motivation. That is neuroscience. This is why the conversation about intelligence needs to change. It should stop being about what you were given and instead be about what you are willing to build.